Awesome. So, a little bit about Broad Futures, as we are an organization that works to change internship opportunities for young neurodivergent people while also providing support for employers. So we work on both ends, not only to ensure that young neurodivergent talent is going into an accessible and supportive workplace, we're also preparing the employers to adequately support the needs of each and every intern that goes into their workplace. So a little statistic here, 1 in 5 young people are diagnosed with a learning disability or are neurodivergent. And we know that this number is much higher as many go undiagnosed throughout their lives, or if we look at the intersections of their identities and their abilities to be tested, the need is much higher. So what we're doing, as we're looking at those post-secondary education rates and employment rates, we're trying to ensure that we're providing opportunities for young people to explore career paths and learn more about what their professional futures could look like, right? So we see this disparity and we're trying to address it through building confidence and professional development skills within each young person while also making the workplace accessible. So we believe that the interns that we work with represent an untapped labor source, and they bring valuable and different perspectives into the workplace. So when we're working with employers, we're looking at this universal design to ensure that not only are they looking at the specific supports that our interns need, but what holistically can change the workplace in order to make it inclusive for all people going in to feel supported by their, their employers, their supervisors, and their managers. So we have these 3 big pillars of focus: building confidence in each and every one of our interns. That ties hand in hand with advocacy, whether they're advocating for themselves and, building that pathway for those who come after them, while also improving professionalism and communication skills. So India is going to talk about that a bit later in our support model, and what Friday trainings look like, but we really do emphasize building professionalism skills and communication skills as a mode to professionalism and advocacy. And then essentially developing transferable skills to school or to work, because we're not just building worker bees, we're building the person holistically in order for them to feel confident and comfortable while they go into the workplace or transition back into school after their internship. And who to say it better than our previous intern? So we have a short testimonial video here.
BroadFutures changed my life.
BroadFutures definitely did change my life.
The spring semester of my junior year, I was super frustrated, super low confidence, and I didn't understand how to navigate the academic world. And then I found BroadFutures the summer of 2015.
BroadFutures made me more open.
BroadFutures helped me develop my skills for the workforce, become a better self-advocate, and improve my communication skills.
BroadFutures has made it a lot of fun to work in general. Like, I never thought that I would like this job that I'm in, but I love it.
BroadFutures has made me more confident, social, and independent in the workplace.
BroadFutures helped me embrace my disability. BroadFutures made me more aware of what I'm looking for in a career.
My internship at BroadFutures at the APA definitely helped me to feel a lot less pressure to be a perfectionist about things that didn't matter, and I was able to kind of feel really comfortable just doing things my own way.
I bring enthusiasm to work.
I tend to have a lot of creative problem-solving skills, and I'm not afraid to change the status quo in terms of using those skills.
I'm
I'm strong-willed, I'm determined, and I'm ready to work.
Awesome. And as we transition from that video, all the pictures that you do see in our slideshow are our previous interns. So these are all internal photos. So logistically, who do we serve? Young people between the ages of 18 to 26 who are neurodivergent. We do require that applicants and interns possess a high school diploma. So if they are on track to graduate before, say, our summer program, they can still apply, but we do require that they have their high school diploma by the time our program starts. We do require that interns are able to work without constant supervision. This doesn't mean that they aren't supported adequately in the workplace and they don't have check-ins. That's not what this means. This means that they're able to work independently. They can be given a task list and can accomplish those tasks as seen fit as by their supervisor. That they're motivated to be in the program. This is one of the biggest indicators for success in our program. Each of our interns, in India, we'll talk about it a bit later, but there's a lot of reflection that is required in our program. They get feedback from their employers on a weekly basis. They're required to do a self-assessment on a weekly basis. They're meeting with their mentors. So motivation is a really big part of our program because they have to be willing to implement feedback and receive that feedback initially and then implement those changes in the workplace. And that segues into exploring strategies and areas for growth. And then finally, that they're vaccinated against COVID. And I will hand it off to India.
Thank you, Shani. So now that you have a better idea of who we serve, I'm going to talk more about what makes our program unique. So our program is designed to suit the needs of those who learn and think differently. So this means having a highly interactive and supportive curriculum. And a huge key component to that is our mentor coach support model. So every intern within our program is assigned a mentor. So they receive individual mentoring throughout their internship program. And they also are working with a coach to sort of gauge how they can best succeed in their internship, and really working through that model is a really huge contribution to their success in the internship. So part of our curriculum integrates different areas to look at the individual holistically. So we're not only looking at workplace development, we're also looking at the arts, stress reduction, how to improve stress tolerance. And we have a very engaging curriculum style. It's not lecture style. We have different things such as mock interviews, partner work. The goal is sort of to see our interns grow holistically and not just in one specific area. The internship match itself is also really important. So we are employer driven in the sense that we're trying to match the intern to the partnership that will make them most successful. So we're looking at their interests, but also their strengths and what environment will be most conducive to their success. So this slide that I'm presenting now sort of takes you through the entire support model, starting with that initial meeting all the way through to the end of the internship. So as our interns are onboarded into the program, we begin with a self-assessment that's looking at what are my areas of strength and where do I still need support. Shani alluded to this earlier, but we're also looking at what goals an intern has in mind around executive functioning skills. So for example, improving responsiveness or improving ability to prioritize tasks could be a goal for an intern. We're developing those goals right at that initial meeting, and then throughout the internship, they're getting support in the form of a twice weekly check-in with their individual mentor to see, how has this work week been going? What strategies have I implemented so far? What strategies do I want to continue implementing to to be most successful and reach my goals. And then we also come together every Friday at the internship for Friday training. Friday training happens right in our BroadFutures offices, and our program staff is working with interns to come together and continue to build on those skills and build towards those goals through our collaborative curriculum. During this time, we're also constantly communicating with employers to make sure that the intern is feeling supported. And then towards the end of the internship, we're having those assessments again of sort of being able to document the trajectory of an intern throughout their internship, of having those goals in the beginning and then seeing how each week did I implement different strategies and how did I implement different methods to reach those goals. Every intern also walks away with a comprehensive final report delivered by our staff, and they're all entitled to alumni support. So the support doesn't stop when their internship stops. There's still different ways to be involved and resources that we share with all of our interns. So why the mentoring model? The mentoring model is really important to us for a number of reasons. Over the years of programming, we've seen that interns have really excelled. Oops, sorry. That interns have really excelled when they're given that individualized one-on-one support. So having someone that they trust and feel that they can go to is really instrumental when you're integrating into a new environment and what very well could be your first work experience. So we really appreciate having mentors that are really committed, can relate to interns, and can give feedback. And we see it as a partnership. Your mentor's not telling you what to do, they're supporting you in understanding how to better advocate for what you need. And we do receive really strong feedback from our participants that they appreciate this aspect of the model. So we also really value supporting our employer partners. In order for our interns to be successful, we recognize that employers also need to feel supported and able to adequately accommodate the needs of our participants. So we communicate in the initial 2 weeks of the program with our employers to make sure that they're fully briefed and aware of what the internship will entail. And then we continue to meet with them on an as-needed basis should anything come up during the internship that they want to address. We also have employers fill out weekly assessments of our interns so that we're getting feedback on what areas our intern might need more support in. And then we're sharing that feedback with the interns on Fridays to see, okay, this is your employer's perspective on your growth in the workplace thus far. How can we continue to grow? How can we move that assessment in a more positive direction going forward? So another thing that makes our program unique is the way that we incorporate the arts. So we do this mainly through our interactive theater curriculum. And people hear that it's not acting per se, but it's more of a role play in the form of mock interviews or giving elevator pitches and playing games that improve social skills and sort of imitate real life workplace situations that interns will more than likely encounter. It's also really just conducive to growth that interns are able to practice all of these skills in a really judgment-free space. So it allows you to mess up, allows you to make mistakes, and then learn how to improve from that and learn how to embrace the learning process, which also reinforces flexibility and collaboration as well. Additionally, we have a wellness curriculum that takes the form of yoga and mindfulness. We have an instructor who comes in on a weekly basis to teach different breathing techniques or chair yoga exercises, poses that are really accessible during the workday that all of our interns can implement in a very easy way. Research has shown that having these techniques in place can really improve cognitive functioning and just overall well-being. And this is really applicable to our participants and our population who, as they're transitioning into this new work environment, may have some anxiety and may have some challenges with being flexible in various situations. So our goal is to increase that stress tolerance and give tools to improve overall well-being in the workplace. So overall, all of the different components of our curriculum come down to building the self, building self-confidence, awareness, self-advocacy tools, and also the ability to self-reflect and grow. We want to move our interns from an I can't perspective to an I can. All of these things will aid them not only in their internships at BroadFutures, but in their life in general, in all of their career and professional paths going forward. So a lot of the things that we focus on are around executive functioning skills. This slide just sort of shows an example of a couple of things: organization, time management, task initiation, and the two goals that interns are working towards that I mentioned a few slides back typically revolve around these things. And an intern may identify a goal, right? Maintaining attention might be their goal. That doesn't mean that they're not also focusing on these other areas. That's sort of the purpose of our Friday training as well, is to continuously work on and highlight these different areas. We're also working on building soft skills. So the quote on the screen is sort of describing that as the workforce is evolving, we're still prioritizing these hard skills and technical skills, but we're also looking at how can this person communicate well? What are their interpersonal skills like? And that's becoming really highly valued in the workplace as well. So we also want to pay a lot of attention to building soft skills. And just to recap, sort of the process of our program and the importance of reflection is that we're setting these goals, we're working towards them. Each week, interns are getting feedback, and then we're repeating the process throughout the entire program, throughout the 12 weeks to reach those goals, and just showing that, you know, there's never a final destination, that we're always working on these goals continuously throughout our lives. But yeah, and I'm just gonna pass it on to Shannon.
Great. So India and Shani did a great job, I think, of highlighting sort of the bulk of our program. Here are some of the topics that we might cover in a Friday training. Perspective taking. We'll often play games that relate to perspective taking and sort of break down, how do we use perspective taking in this game? How could you apply this in the workplace in your upcoming week? So this is just an example of some of the topics that we might cover in a Friday training. We also have a sort of more traditional career readiness curriculum, things that you would probably expect from a workplace development kind of program like ours. So we're talking the first week about how to dress appropriately for your internship. We're talking about how to explore careers sort of based on what you already know about yourself, your strengths and growth areas, but also maybe from your internship experience. We're working on resume writing and LinkedIn, cover letters, professional emails, professional communication in general. On the next slide, we'll also see the mock interviews that we talked about, some networking and how to use an elevator pitch. We also spent some time talking about disclosure and accommodations in the workplace, when and how to disclose if interns so choose, either in their current internship or in the future. So now we've been talking a lot about the program components that sort of wrap around this internship experience. And so now I'll talk a little bit about our internship areas. These are our general areas of internship, but I would say that these are always kind of moving depending on what employer partners we have for any given program. We have partnered with over 70, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have all 70 working with us at any one given time. These are the 4 general buckets that we have now. So policy and politics, nonprofits, advocacy, a hospitality bucket, communications and marketing, and then more of the computer science, sort of STEM focused area. Our our internships and our total program do have a program cost. We don't have the fees fully outlined for our upcoming year, our 2025 programming, but they will be available on our website once we know those final numbers. We do offer scholarships though, and we meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. So we don't want you to see a sticker price and worry that you wouldn't qualify. The way our process works is that you apply to our program first. You tell us in that application, which we'll talk about next, tell us in that application sort of what you're looking for, what your past experiences have been. And then if you are accepted into our program, then we'll invite you to apply to scholarship. So no need to apply up front. We do all of the interviewing without sort of taking into account who needs scholarship up front. So there's many ways to apply. Our next program to apply for would be winter 2025. Our application deadline for this summer has closed, and we are probably in like the last week or so of making our matches with our current class and trying to match them. I should also note about the match process. So when interns are applying on our website, they will have an option to sort of rank the areas of internship that they're interested in. And of course, in the interview, we'll have a chance to tell us a little bit more about what kind of internship they see themselves in, but there is a match process. So that means that we are taking a look at who we have as an employer partner for that program, and then we're matching with the applicant pool that we have. That means that there's, if there's a very specific place that an intern sees on our website that they'd like to work, they can certainly voice that preference, but it doesn't mean that we are matching sort of one-to-one in that way. There's a lot of sort of logistical pieces that go into our match. We're very good at the match process. We're very good at interviewing and finding out where might be a really good fit. So as Shani mentioned in the beginning, our program is best for folks who are motivated. And I would also say our program is best for folks who are flexible around the kind of internship experience they would be open to having. So if you are really interested in politics, but we might not have a job that's fully on Capitol Hill, right? It is most helpful if we know that and know that you really want a chance to work on something or work in an internship where there's a good bit of writing. Maybe you want to really work on your professional writing. That's really helpful information that we'll pull out from the interview and helps us make a really good match. So I say all that to say our program is best for folks that have some flexibility around where they can see themselves gaining that workplace experience. On this next slide, you'll see what it would look like if you were to go in and apply for our program. The big button that says apply for our internship, it's kind of all over. Anywhere you click, you'll be able to get back to that page. And then our application is pretty standard. So it's going to ask you for past education to list out. It's going to ask you about past experiences, volunteer experiences. Again, a space to sort of rank and tell us a little bit more about your skill set and where you would see yourself in an internship. And that's sort of it for the application and references. We do check references. So I should include that. There's 2 references that we require. And then from there, a lot of the other information that we gather will be through that interview process and through speaking with those references. Housing, we always get asked this because we are located in Washington, D.C. for this flagship program. We do not arrange or pay for housing, but we have a housing resource guide. It's actually on our application page. And I would say if you're coming from out of town, most people find great options through other college campuses. So staying at GW, staying at American or Catholic for the summer are usually your best bet. We do have some partnerships. If housing was a concern, that would be something that you would just want to express to us in the interview process, and we could point you in the right direction. So here are some examples of our employer partners, and you'll see there's a really wide range. And I would say even within our wide range of employer partners, sometimes what the employer is looking for might change. So for example, an internship with the Smithsonian, someone might think that that is sort of visitor center, front desk sort of work, but it could be that they actually need someone who's working on exhibit building, right? So it really just depends on what the organization is looking for that term. And that's why that match is important, so we can make sure we get the right intern matched with the right employer. And you'll see a couple others here, everyone from, think tanks and policy organizations, some congressional offices on here, lots of nonprofits who share in our sort of our mission and our values. So there is a pretty wide range. We also have some national partners. This is a new thing for us in the past 2 years or so, but we've essentially partnered with some of the organizations that you see on the screen who would like to sort of do a version of our flagship program and our support model, but sort of in-house. All of these partnerships have their own set of requirements of what they're looking for interns, and they might have different education requirements. For example, we don't require that you have a specific major to be able to have a certain internship. Some of these other ones may require that you have specific coursework in a certain area, for example. These will be available on our website coming soon. If you had a question specifically about any of those, feel free to drop those in the chat. And those timelines are also a little bit different than our flagship program for our winter and summer. They also set their own deadlines. But similar to our flagship program, they are looking to take neurodivergent talent in a small cohort, support them in our mentorship model with some training, some additional training. And then these jobs, some of them may turn into full-time employment. And sort of how do we know we're good at what we do and that we know sort of how best to serve this population? We have gathered some really great statistics over our 10 years, working on 11. So you can see some of our stats, and these are things that our interns have reported or that we've taken from our intern data. So we have a really high completion and success rate. And we also have a really high, over 90% successfully returning to school or work. And I think that's really important to highlight because our program does get a number of applicants who are sort of stuck. They're not quite sure if they want to return back to school, change a major, if they're interested in going into full-time work. And so we really pride ourselves on that, helping people figure out what their next steps are after they leave our program. This number has changed a little bit, not 65. We have more, I would say closer to 70, 75 employer partners, and our employer partners are really happy. We get a lot of really positive feedback that our interns are very prepared. There is an initial training week that we are really making sure we help them get ready for that first day. And then because of those subsequent Friday trainings during the internship, we really get high remarks from our employer partners saying that, our interns are really prepared and able to do the work that they need. And then our parents are happy. We have a lot of parents who see a lot of growth in their own child. And we love to hear that you can see the same sort of growth and confidence that we see. And I will ask India to take it off of recording. I see we have a couple of questions. A couple of things that just because we don't have our program dates fully set for